This conference will now be recorded.
Today we're going to walk through setting up a shell policy in SOAR. The purpose of a shell policy is to allow a claim or claims to be processed in the system for a policy that is fully earned and terminated either through expiration or renewal or cancellation in a legacy system. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log into our SOAR test environment as the admin. And I'm going to go to my recent list and I am going to find a customer that I want to set up a shell policy for. And in the policy summary section, I'm going to click on the link for the insured. When I get to this screen, which is referred to as the customer information section, I am going to click New Shell Policy. What this will do is bring up a product selection screen. I'm going to quickly just do commercial auto and click continue. I'm going to put in an original policy number. This would be your legacy policy number. And for our testing purposes, I am going to use CA Test 02. There is no policy number for innovation because we do not have a policy for this particular term that I'm going to set up in the source system. I'm going to use 9/10/2015 to 9/10/2016, and I'm going to pick a producer code. Once I have set up that base shell policy, I'm going to go ahead and add a vehicle to it. For my testing purposes, I'm going to pick a personal private passenger policy or private passenger auto. And I'm going to click save. I'm going to add a truck or tractor trailer. And back at the shell policy screen, I'm going to click save. At this point, if I return home and look at my recent list, I now have a policy CA Test 02 for the term of 9/10/2015 to 2016. It is expired. And if I click on that policy, you'll see in the actions menu that the only thing that I can do is report a loss. I cannot do any endorsements on this policy. I cannot renew the policy. I cannot cancel it. So I'm going to go ahead and start a loss notice. And I'm going to pick a date in our policy period. And on the loss notice information screen, I'm going to fill it out with generic information. And I'm going to pick collision vandalism as my loss cause. You can see in the vehicle list that my two vehicles that I added are listed. I'm going to pick the Mack tractor trailer and permissible use. And I have to say who the driver is because that is required. And I'm going to fill out the rest of our information with the rest of the fields with base information. I'm going to click save. And I'm going to go ahead and complete the loss. At this time, I'm going to start the claim. I am going to go to the claim detail, edit the claimant, add my adjuster, fix my no fault indicator, and adjust reserves. Now, because we don't have a policy within SOAR with policy limits and coverages, we have to click Show Applicable Product Coverages. We have to manually verify on this policy the coverages, the limits that are applicable for this particular policy and or autos. So under the collision, I'm going to put a $25,000 limit in indemnity for the reserve and click Save. I'm going to go ahead and back at the claim detail screen, I am going to make a payment. I'm going to pick indemnity. I'm going to have the check be a batch check, and I want to make it for $1,200 to the insured. And I'm going to process the payment. I'm going to get a warning. I'm going to ignore the warnings and go ahead and process the payment. I will go ahead and finalize my transaction, put in my workflow comments, and process the transaction. But for all intents and purposes, the Shell policy will not record any premium or any policy stat information. It will record any claim stat information, and any processes that are currently available for claims are available on a Shell policy. The only difference is that you have to manually verify the coverages and limits for that particular policy because it isn't actually a policy that was set up in SOAR. That pretty much explains the Shell policy and how it is used in the SOAR system.
This conference will now be